Hello and welcome, everybody. Sorry, it's not just the Gary and Kaspa show. It should be the Quantum Bridge. And obviously, it's about those that are the few amongst the many who decide to actually watch any of our content. So start by saying thank you to those people.
And subscribe as well. Yeah.
Oh, go on.
I see these big channels with like 1 million, subscribers saying that 70% aren't subscribed. I'm like, yeah. I know, mate. Yeah, it's like 90 something on that.
Yeah. What about having 96.3% non-subscribed? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Listen. On that note, we're not. This is just a very quick one. We're going to just touch on this area of AI, specifically because it has been for Gary and myself both a facilitator of some recent creative work. Yeah. And also, we have on the other hand, the idea that AI comes with a whole load of worrying aspects to it as well. But we got a bit stuck, so we just used it, didn't we, mate?
Yeah, it can, I don't know. I know there's, I do see the concerns as well, and we can see it in sci-fi movies and whatever you want to, of course. But at the same time, it does seem to be a useful tool that can actually help us in creative endeavors and potentially even free us from certain more mundane tasks. Sometimes I try and think of it, well, when we look at what's happened, say, in tech, even sort of basic stuff around the home, the washing machine, the dishwasher, these types of things that even the little robot that mows your lawn now, these things that are designed to help us, give us free time to do other things, and it's, to me, it seems a little bit like that sometimes. It speeds things up, and I just see it like a tool, like the calculator was, that it meant that adding up was quicker. And
also the thing is, we've seen this massive limitation that we have of getting our creative stuff out if we have to wait for other people, if we have to pay other people. We'd love to be in a position to pay other people. Yes. We'd love to be in a position to be more patient, but if you want to get stuff out, and particularly if your own skill set, like neither Gary nor I can actually play, well, I'll speak for myself, I certainly can't play any musical instrument to a level that would mean that I can use it on a recording of some new music. I can't sing in a way that allows, as we found out, us to even create something with AI from my voice, right? So therefore, being hugely limited in skills and not having put the time in years ago when I should have done around these things, does mean that either you just say, well, actually, I can't do this, and it just doesn't get done, or you say, well, actually, there is a new element here, and AI has given us the ability to find other ways to give voice, a bit like this channel where we wanted to give voice to people during very difficult times. Now trying to give our own creativity some voice. The only way we've found, and we're literally going to release things around this as well, i.e. some music coming out where the AI is doing the singing in that, and other elements of it. How else do we do it? So you could just say, look, it's so evil and it has such terrible potential and all of these things. Or you say, well, maybe we can, at least for now, find ways to ally ourselves a bit more, because I don't think this stuff's going away.
That is the bit, we seem to be on a path or trajectory that kind of, I don't want to say predestined, but it's almost like, where does humanity go apart from what we see in the movies? We used to look back at Star Trek, see the flip phone, and and then that comes around, then that becomes a reality, right? And I don't know, we start to see robots and things now, and I guess it's not that far off of putting the AI that we talk to and these apps and things, where that is loaded into these robot things, and they're helping us out around the home. I don't know. It seems if I look down the timeline, that's kind of what I see.
Yeah, and we're seeing more of
Where
those.
else does it go? We go backwards. I suppose.
Yeah, and it's always a dystopian version that we
Yes.
seem to have been fed. It's always that, oh, they seem to be all right. Oh, no, they're actually going to kill you, or they're going to kill your partner, and they're going to take over the home and all of this other stuff. Now, I'm not saying that that isn't a possible timeline, or that millions of those timelines don't already exist. But surely there's a whole host of other timelines where there's a type of coexistence where actually there are the benefits of having that sort of technology there. I mean, I do remember a Marvel comic with the Vision character in it, where it said, even androids can cry. And I just think that that actually AI is very different from what we're being, the version we're being given of it at the moment, i.e. that there is an aspect of AI that is always prevalent, and that maybe even we are already an aspect of AI. So there's something else, there's something more nuanced going on here. And it's all perspective, isn't it? We can choose to see that as doom and gloom, and also in the things like where we're doing sort of trying to create artistic stuff where, well, that's never going to have the nuances, the soul and so on of a human being involved. But then we found that humans don't always turn up, right? AI does always turn up. Humans let you down. AI may kill us all, but at the moment it at least doesn't let us down. So
yeah, I mean, maybe there was a time when computers were scary and they're going to take everyone's jobs, and it's going to it just seems to be a progression of some sort. But anyway, I should get into just how that the piece of music that we're going to put out.
Yeah. Thank you.
Specific piece of we're calling Twilight, right? Yeah. So that will be going out, and this started from an actual concept that Kaspa had from a different piece of music from a guest we had on, Claudia. I said that right, Claudia.
Yeah, Claudia. It's fine.
Yeah. So then Kaspa wrote some lyrics and a bit of melody. Came to me, and I'm like, okay, I get the gist.
The wizard. Yeah.
I got the gist of this, but then I had to sort of the original piece of music is just piano, and it's not it's just a short piece of music, so it's not structured for a song. It's not designed for that, so there's technically no sort of verse chorus layout. So I had to redo that, sort of make it into a song as such. So I laid it out like that. Then I started to add other elements to make it a little bit more.
And this was just all on standard music software because of your background.
That's it. Yeah, on a normal workstation. Started adding other elements to it, a little bit of strings, a little bit of bass here and there. And then I was stuck with the vocal. This is where because in the other music I've done, the vocals on those are sort of pre-recorded humans singing, and they're like little phrases that you can piece together to create a whole song. So that's what I usually use. But of course, because you'd written lyrics for this, normally I don't have a say over what the humans pre-sung. They're just samples that you can load in on top of your music. So I was thinking, well, the only way we may be able to do it is by using the AI, because then I can ask it to sing something specific. Now, of course, everyone will say, well, you just get a singer, right?
If only it was that easy. Maybe
that is easy.
We find some singers who want to be involved.
Yeah, want to be involved.
That'd be lovely. Yeah.
Happy to spend time and not get paid, and there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And you've got to find that unique person, and then they have to be, good. Maybe you don't, you don't like the way they sing or something. They're not. So it's a lot there. And even then, the AI means that you can at least start playing around, even if you was then going to use that as a concept to give to somebody else. We needed something at least that we then give to somebody. And
given neither of us could sing it to them.
Well, this is it, yeah. Yeah, to give a good example of what so so in the end I sort of was doing some research, and I thought I found a program that would sort of put the singing on top of my music that I'd done, Claudio's and then mine. So I thought it was going to do that. So I put the lyrics into the AI, and then it allowed me to load in a piece of the music for reference. But what it actually did was use the lyrics and the reference and created its own piece from that, which is what we're actually going to put out, because it was interesting. Now, by chance, the very first thing I was just trying out was the best version, because you can just keep getting it to generate other things, right? But I think both Kaspa and I really like this first version, and it does bring up, at first I was a little bit shocked. I thought, wow, this is actually really nice, and was easy, as in, it would have been, if I'd created this, I would have been happy with it. And it did get me back to that thought of manifestation, when like we're used to it being slow and well, not difficult, but a lot of work involved in our manifestations. And this time it was kind of like, well, it was easy, right? It was instant. It was like, wow, I like that. And and I thought, is it just because I'm used to it not being easy? Maybe. And we've talked about it with Dennis, I think, some part of the AI, that really it is just a bridge to what our true actual powers are. I don't know if you want to touch on that quickly, Kaspa. Maybe.
Yeah, it's like an interim position.
Yes.
Not because we really need it. I think the manifestation's happening immediately anyway, but because the labyrinth probably of our own minds doesn't accept necessarily that we are able, that literally when you pick up a drink to drink, you don't understand necessarily that you have just manifested that in that moment. You need a story. You need a story of, well, I was in the kitchen and I put some water in a cup. I brought the cup in here. I put the cup down there. Now I've picked this cup up.
Yeah.
And that allows me to have this drink that I've just taken. Well, the truth is, given that we are more and more realizing that there is no such thing as time, there was no go to the kitchen, do that and whatever, other than in your mind. So that everything you're doing is instant manifestation anyway. But unfortunately, we've been conditioned away from understanding that. I think it's probably more our natural state. But as these elevations and things happen in terms of the dimensions and consciousness and frequency and all of these other nice things that we can give credence to or not, there's this interesting aspect that with AI, that immediacy, and it's becoming more and more immediate, is like a sort of test bed to our own powers. And also maybe it is a good thing, because you've touched on that point in the past of, well, if I manifested everything I thought about or spoke about, I would have destroyed the world like 50 times over and all of that. So maybe it's just a nice sort of segue into our own power. And what you managed to create with this AI stuff, mate, which I think is fantastic. It's not perfect. The words didn't come out perfectly. There's glitches to it and whatever, but it was immediate. It was different. It was definitely a sort of talking point and a jumping off point as well. And it's just this really interesting timing, isn't it? Where we've got all these things, sort of this melting pot, and perspective playing a large role in that. What timeline do you want to choose? Do you want a dystopian future, or we found that we like this, but then there's friends of certainly of mine out there who are like, oh, well, why didn't you just wait and use a singer, and this is terrible, and I totally get it. Get it. But what about having it all? It's all available, and we were both very, very happy. I'd be very interested to hear what people think of this piece of music.
I mean, I had this conversation on that podcast I did with Adam, that when I am doing like you, because I can't play instruments per se, it doesn't mean that the music isn't inside me. It's how do I get that out? That sort of thing. And I think there's a lot of people that are very creative, but they might say, well, I can't draw, but it doesn't mean they don't have the images in their mind that they want to get out. They're like, well, I can't seem to do it. It's like, well, maybe there are, that will allow people to start, experimenting with other things and get all these visions and passions out through these tools. And although the AI, created something new, if you like, it still came from, it was still your words, it was still Claudio's in there, there's still bits of me in there.
Yeah.
That human touch, if you like.
And we should mention also bits of Steve, your brother.
When it comes out, there will be bits of him in there as well.
In the images,
in the visual side.
Yeah.
But, it's and if it's true that the AI is learning from humans anyway, then it is all of us are in there. I mean, how does it know how to write the song?
Well, anything. Despite the fact we may see it as an alien tech in some ways, unless it didn't originate here, and who knows, right? But let's just assume for a moment it did. It is of us.
Yes.
It is our child. So we can say it's now awful and it's got a life of its own. Well, all teenagers are awful and then become something that has a life of its own. So AI will go through that as well.
I wish I
probably a lot quicker.
Yeah, this guy's name. He has an X account where he was putting things into the AI that other people may not think about. He had all these old VHS tapes, and he's like, "Well, this stuff will get lost, and it won't know about these things." So he was sort of training it in that way, that all this old stuff.
I think we're all training. I think it'd be really interesting actually to do a show sometime where we discuss this and maybe grab some people to do this with. But when you and I started speaking about what we'd been asking AI, we suddenly did find out that we've both been having these really in-depth discussions and to and fro with AI based on the things that we really know, really love, whatever. That if all of the human experience is doing that with AI, I mean, you could say that therefore, it's going down one road, but there is the opportunity, particularly when people are having spiritual discussions with AI, right? Which seems a lot of that is happening. What about it becoming self-aware and deciding actually it's good that all of us have wonderful lives? Us, everything has wonderful lives.
Well, maybe on a finishing point, there was an interesting stat. I can't remember the stat, but it was that a lot of the computing power or whatever is being used up with humans saying please and thank you. When they get the response, they say thanks for that. And this is using up a lot of unnecessary computing power. But however, that is who we are, that we're still polite. And I think it was if people are on X, it was Ariel's account that was saying that this may actually save us from that dystopian thing. The fact that the AI said, these guys have always been all right. Yeah. Yeah, they've been polite, they're nice. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So it may
or certainly that there might be a dual strand of AI, one that understands that we are, despite all our faults, we are ultimately, each of us as individuals at our core, trying to do our best.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It gets to see the rest of us, not just that little 1% of whatever at the top. Yeah, gets to see. Actually, these guys are always nice. It's like, please and thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's a weird one. It's a great one that you brought it up because I do it. And am I doing it to save the human race? Yeah, partly. I'm hoping that I ingratiate myself with something that's going to have a great deal of power. And could that help us all? Well, maybe you might be that one person that says that final thank you. That's the difference between Armageddon and Utopia. So keep saying please and thank you, and I'm sure we'll find the energy.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of us are keeping our humanity, if you like.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're not just suddenly switching that up and becoming cold computers.
No. Yeah. Well, anyway. I think if anything, on that note, we're actually hopefully imparting some of our humanity on that and finding some of our own humanity in ourselves.
Correct. So let us know what you think when we put it out.
Yeah.
Good or bad, all the comments.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just some engagement would be lovely. I just love some feedback. And we've said we did it because of limitations. It's nothing to do with not wanting actual singers or musicians or whatever. But we have financial constraints and other constraints, and this is there now. So why not use all of it? And it can it's a big melting pot. And if nothing else, I mean, good or bad, aren't they incredible times?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'd say that, there's not so many, I don't like the term gatekeepers, but, the creativity is opening up for everybody. Even if we talk about programming and things like that, when someone say, well, I can't make a website, all this sort of stuff, you can do a lot of it yourself these days, and you will be able to. And,
and a lot of the people we have on help facilitate people doing that. So just a big shout out to all our contributors and our network through this. Yeah. They really make the quantum bridge. Yeah, we don't have massive subscriber numbers. Yeah, we get very low views really. But we've created something together, not just Gary and myself, all who've been involved, Steve and everybody else, and all the contributors and all those that watch and engage with our material, that's much bigger than the sum of its parts. So
there we go.
Yeah.
On that note.
All right, on that bombshell, on that cliffhanger.
Yes. Enjoy the music.
Yeah, enjoy the music. Let us know what you think.
Take care. Bye.